Okay, we are live, beaming to you from Fort Myers Beach Town Hall. It's the Marine Resource Task Force meeting, Wednesday, March 9th. Okay, so call to order. If you're all ready, we can stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Shall we start with the council member?
Bill Leach, Council Liaison.
Mary Rose Spalletta, present.
Steve Johnson, present.
Jennifer Rusk, present.
Rose Larkin, present.
Chad Schutz, present.
Good. Approve the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved. I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Any objections? Okay. Motion is unanimous.
Going back to the roll call, can there be a motion to excuse Miss Wendy?
So moved.
Yep, we'll make it. I move, make a motion to excuse Wendy as an excused absence.
Second.
Objections? Unanimous. Okay, approve previous meeting minutes. You all had a chance to take a look at them?
I've read them. I didn't see anything that needed to be corrected.
Same here.
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
We have a second. I second that. Any objections? Okay, that's another unanimous vote. Holy cow. Excellent. Okay. Public comment? As there are no public attendees, we will move forward with current items. First on the list is the FWC presentation review. Last meeting we had a presentation from Rebecca Schneider from the FWC on the Carlos Beach nesting area. And yep, we're looking for input on that review. I think specifically that the item that had come up was whether or not imazapyr, which is what they're intending to use as a herbicide to control the sand spurs and, what's the other one, Chad?
Rose feet.
Crow's feet. In place of glyphosate. Has anybody had a chance to look into that at all? Because I've got one question, and that has to do with I think its mobility potential in higher pHs, or actually in lower pHs. Limits its movement in the soil. So I guess that's mobility, would decrease its mobility. And the beach silica, that's high pH, I'm guessing, higher pH sand. Do you know? Anybody?
I don't know.
No.
She hadn't mentioned whether what the pH of the soil was.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of mobility, I guess if it's, sticking to the sand, but you do have a lot of water movement, both on the surface and kind of subsurface during the high tide events.
Mm-hmm. Will they actually use this all the way down to the meantime high tide level, or?
I'm not sure, but that area gets flooded. It would basically be a salt marsh if it wasn't. It'd be a more obvious salt marsh wetland if it wasn't unvegetated.
Gotcha. So I'm not absolutely sure where I stand on it or what our options are. It seems that, and I picked this up at the town council meeting when they were here presenting about the window tints and whatnot, that they had said that one of the three participants, the homeowner participants, weren't particularly happy with the vegetation last year, and that if it continued that they would withdraw from the program. And I think there's also an issue about whether or not the FWC is attempting to pass along some of the financial responsibility for it, which I'm not sure about, and that doesn't really apply here, but
think that was more for the bird monitoring, perhaps,
Hmm,
but I'm not certain. I think they're still gonna have a bird monitor.
I see, okay. So the question is, I think, I mean, my impression was when they came, they said this is the way we're gonna have to do it, because the other options they had provided were the salt water, which technically is more toxic, or didn't have, you're gonna have to correct my memory on a lot of this,
Yeah,
but,
that was my understanding also, Steve.
but that it was either more toxic or was not listed as a readily, you know, an available treatment.
Yeah, it's like vinegar and salt water are not approved to be herbicides in the state of Florida.
Right, right, or then actually the, you know, acetic acid is higher toxicity to the birds than this technically. If you look at the LD50 ratings, it's much higher than this actually for those products of all things, as is acetaminophen and caffeine and nicotine and all these other things we're saying. But it does, I mean, if you look through, I looked through the, to the material, a couple of highlights were, is it says, as imazapyr is of low toxicity to fish and invertebrates. It's registered for use in aquatic areas, brackish coastal areas. Despite its potential mobility, imazapyr has not been reported in water runoff. And there have been no reports of imazapyr contamination in water. And if it enters a water column, imazapyr is photodegraded by sunlight with an average half-life of 2 days. These are just some points I picked up from this research paper. And
Is that pretty recent, Steve?
and it's even shorter. That's a good question. I didn't look at the date, nor do I have it here. It's actually, this was done by the Weed Control Methods Handbook, the Nature Conservancy. tncweeds.ucdavis.edu. So, I mean, that's what I found out on this particular herbicide. Did you have any, I mean, any other input? Any other options, any other recommendations we could make, any responses we could make to the presentation as the Marine Resource Task Force?
It didn't seem like they had any other choices.
No, you didn't.
There is one thing that's being discussed to kind of control the seed heads to knock the crow's feet back, which is rotary mowing the crow's feet to limit that.
And collection, I'm assuming. Isn't that part of the problem, is that you propagate as you mechanically harvest them?
Right. Theoretically, the mowing should happen before it goes to seed, you know, before it's matured to seed, if you're doing it right.
But I think, is this the other issue we had, that they need to apply during nesting season, where mechanical means weren't possible, or?
Yeah, so they have their closed off areas. They will be, and it's, you know, while the nesting season's going on, they're having one of them walking through and applying. You know, personally, I would still rather give the propane tank with the flamethrower a go before we went to the chemical route, but that's just me.
What was the comment on that, though? Wasn't that brought up, or was it?
Yeah, I thought they said it didn't work, Chad, for some reason.
I think.
Or was it just they don't like it?
I remember Rebecca's comment to me is we're all in favor of controlled burning as an agency, but not in this. I didn't understand the exact reason for the objection, to be honest.
Right, was it something to do with you couldn't treat right next to the nests?
And well, the same criteria would be for chemicals then, right?
I don't know, it's not as loud maybe, or I can't remember what the objection was to using that near nests.
Yeah, I didn't.
Heat,
It's,
but also I think maybe from a pre-emergence perspective, obviously it's more effective, obviously, but it also introduces,
They have to visit each individual plant then, right? Whereas with this, they're just gonna broadcast it. So it might be that it's just easier.
I'm sure that has a lot to do with it.
But I don't,
So,
Do we have time to have her come back and answer these questions, or
Yeah, I mean, that,
maybe we should? What do you think?
Shall we make a motion to actually send her a request to maybe come back, revisit,
Or answer,
answer some of the questions we've been able to do after doing the research here on the herbicide, ask her to reiterate the issues or the options using torches or fire?
If you have a specific question, you'd always just ask her and have her respond by email or something instead of,
Sure, having her come back.
Agreed. She has a long way, I think, to drive, so.
okay, so what questions do we need answered then?
Good question. So actually, we'll ask specifically why flame or propane tank and I guess we can call it controlled burn maybe.
oh, no, I wouldn't say that.
No, I know, I see when you brought it up, I thought, that's not my definition of a
I guess it
controlled
is,
burn.
it is a controlled burn, but.
Well, it is,
I
right,
don't
but not
wanna
in the
give them
definition.
Impression that we're, setting all the grass on fire and watching it.
Right, well, that usually allows the natives to, to grow back, right, to get rid of a true controlled burn. Is to weed out the non-natives, so,
we don't want a lot of little flaming baby birds running around.
right, right, well, I think, again,
It'd be counterproductive.
right.
Oh, man.
But how would they actually then clear the whole area, a larger area? With like a flamethrower? I mean, how can, those propane tanks are usually have a,
I saw that particular application being more just spot treatment as they're coming up, as the more so for the burrs rather than the crow's feet. The crow's feet aren't really, attaching.
right, aren't causing a problem.
Right, it's just more just, it's vegetation and,
Well, if this doesn't work, what are the ramifications? I mean, we've got 1 year, they've been very unhappy about the performance, and if there's 2 years in a row,
Carlos Point has been unhappy since I've been employed, so.
okay. Good point.
Well, we can be consistent there. Keep them unhappy. No, I don't mean that.
Yeah,
We would like to find a solution
Yep,
for the
Yep.
wildlife and the people,
yep.
and we will.
I can forward you this one, this paper, or actually, from the Methods Handbook, Weed Control Methods Handbook. What was interesting, however, is that it seemed like birds were more, had more toxicity than mammals, as it was written in here, mallard ducks and quails.
We're more susceptible to the toxicity?
Exactly, it's relatively low toxicity in birds and mammals, that LD 50 rate, which is, I can't remember what the LD stands for. Basically, it's a level of toxicity, the lower the more toxic, the higher the less toxic. For rats, it's over 5,000 milligrams per kilogram, and for bobwhite, quail, and mallard ducks, it's 2,150 milligrams per kilogram, so it's about half. It's more than half, or twice as toxic to birds as it is to mammals.
Yeah, I mean, in my very basic rudimentary understanding, my worry is more of just the interruption to the ecology in general. You're taking out some basal level of vegetation, and
It's a nuclear bomb for the area, really, as far as
yeah, I don't want to be dramatic, but it
plants.
is.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it'll kill everything, based
Yep.
on what I'm reading.
Yep,
If it photosynthesizes,
right,
it disrupts the amino acid development, and it kills it.
right.
But it washes away quickly, she said, right?
Which means it's washing away either into the Gulf or CWA, which also has implications.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, again, based on what I'm reading, it's certainly not as bad. I can understand where she's coming from. It's to me, it's not even close to being as bad as glyphosate for that area. But again, it's the better of the evils. Is that what I think was sort of the presentation? So why don't we ask her?
We're concerned about the toxicity, and would she speak to that in reference to,
Well, to Becky's defense, she's not a chemist, she's not a,
right?
Right, nor are we. Right.
and
Yeah.
you know, you're asking a bird biologist about,
Yeah, it's not her
Herbicides.
field, right?
And LD50 is the dosage amount that will kill half of the population.
Lethal dosage, that's what it
Yeah.
is. Lethal dose, yeah, 50, exactly, 50%, right? Lethal dosage is what it stands for, yeah.
And so that the higher the number, the more you would take to be lethal, the 50%. Right.
Correct. It would take more to be lethal, correct. So the lower the number, the more toxic.
And if we okay it for there, does it mean we okay it for anyone on the island who wants to use it?
Currently, I don't think there's anything that would prevent them anyway.
Oh.
They can use glyphosate too.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Maybe we should recommend it instead of glyphosate.
If it works, for sure.
Well, again, it's a moving in the right direction, but that's not what we're talking about here. So any recommendations on how to move forward on the review, whether or not we do move forward?
I think we should tell her that we're leaning toward it, but we'd like to have this question answered about why she can't burn the individual plants.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you already answered that and we weren't paying attention.
It's possible. And to talk at the toxicity. So I'll make a motion. I'll send an email to, the chair will send an email to Becky Schneider asking her to, again, review why burning or using propane fire to control the weeds was
It's not a viable.
is not an option.
Right.
And to also address the toxicity levels for the remaining fauna or flora, or both, in the area.
That sounds good. And
Have a
then we
sec-
can make our minds up at the next meeting.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I can bring the response. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Steve.
Discussion? Additions? All right.
You
motion
could be
ca-
nice.
Motion
and
carries.
Sit with a thank you for coming in.
Of course, no, I certainly appreciate them coming and talking with
Yes.
us. I mean, and getting the town involved, so. Okay, we've got a course of action for the Carlos Beach birding area. Next is the MRF budget. So last time we spoke, we had left it as we probably need maybe more, if we could flesh out what we had put in the buckets, the categories. We left it with the bag for a $10,000 budget, potential bag reprinting or new design, whatever we'd like to do for a reusable bag for distribution on the beach at $5K. Our map, our MRF and town map was $3K for $3,000 for the graphics and printing. And then it was $2,000 for the pop-up, support the pop-up booth for the fiscal year. But we did have some other ideas, so we'd have to figure out what groups those would go in, or we can increase the number of groups. So we've got a little bit more time set aside for this. If you'd like to, if you've brought more, I know Rose had sent a request in to get information on what the reprints of the fertilizer card,
Right.
lack of a better term. So I don't know,
And that estimate was a little over $150. Have them professionally printed, but then they weren't laminated. And that was a concern of mine because the ones we have now were printed, I believe, by the town and laminated, and they're much more durable.
And do we know where those came from? The town, you think? Do you know anything about that, Jen?
Miss Jenny, yep. Dexter, PIO.
Is it possible to have that done if we provided the labor? Extend our budget? I'll come in and laminate, I don't care, I don't know how many we need.
I can certainly ask, I think she was going to get them done by a print shop going forward. I remember seeing some estimates on that.
Okay, but if we roughed it in, I mean, right now, we don't have to have absolute costs, but if it's $150 unlaminated, is it $200 laminated? 250?
Probably.
Yeah, we can rough that into 250. Do we need another group? I mean, are we all convinced that a bag, another production of the bag, albeit a little bit smaller, is something we're all behind?
Well, I don't know, is this the time to start it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, or is there other requests that we have? So the big question is the pop-up. What's the cost? That's our major outreach program, and a very extremely important part of the efforts here. So what is?
Well, I had spoken with, in regards to the pamphlets and the maps, I had spoken with Allison Geeson about maybe collaborating. And she said that they have done that in the past with other committees, and that would be something to help us with the cost, so we could look into that. With some information, especially if we're gonna do a pamphlet that includes, other, areas of the island, and including information on Mound House and Newton Park, and maybe even collaborating with Lee County, parks with getting, a really informative, interesting pamphlet that people would, want. And
So does that mean that Mound House would pay for part of it, Jen? Is that what she's saying?
right, we would collaborate, and they would be able to look into what they have in their budget to help us out.
Oh,
So
that's a
that's
good
something
idea.
that we could potentially look into.
And then they can use it at Mound House, and you would have
We would be able to.
as much as you want for the pop.
Right, exactly. We could use it for MRF pop-up. We could use it for Mound House and other areas.
Right.
Just a thought I wanted to bring to your attention. Let's
So
see,
that-
I did speak with one graphic designer that has been used before by the town, and they charge $15 every 15 minutes. Doesn't seem all that, they said they could probably come up with something within an hour or two to work with us on what, would look good. Or something that we
Well, that
might
seems
be
quite
interested. That's very
reasonable.
reasonable. And I have seen one of the other pamphlets that they have done for the town, and it's a great pamphlet, so.
But is this a threefold pamphlet, or is it gonna be
This is a
sort of
threefold, and I was thinking, I think a sixfold to get as much information and a nice map. But I'm no graphic designer, so I don't know, maybe we can get everything in a threefold. But I would like to see a small shell guide, an ID bird guide. I'd like to see some information on the plants. There would be, quite a bit of information on this pamphlet. Of course, not overwhelming, but at least desirable for people that would want to pick it up. For visitors and for the community.
Yeah.
Let's see. When it comes to the bags, I loved the idea of the bags. I'm just going to be very honest, though. I had a talk, I did a talk for the San Carlos Squadron, and I had some bags that I had received from FDEP to give out, and a lot of people said, oh, we just have so many bags. And I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking at home, I have a lot of bags. I'm tucking bags in everywhere. So bags, sometimes, I don't know. I think it's a great idea. It's just, I don't know if people really, there's a lot of bags in the world. So, but that's just my thought on that.
Well, another, one of the other big pieces of plastic trash are water bottles.
Right.
And I know they're like, you said with bags, we have a ton of reusable water bottles, and you don't need more than so many, but, if it encourages people to not go out with plastic water bottles, and plus, with the stuff we're doing around town, we're putting in a lot of water bottle fillers.
So maybe reusable water bottles instead of reusable bags.
Capital idea, Councilman.
And all the bags that I have, I still go in the store and forget them in my car.
Right. But how would we distribute these reusable water bottles?
When we did the bags, we had giveaways. This is before your pop-up, though. And we also had them available for pickup here at Town Hall. So this is something that you could have, you could bring a box to your pop-up and hand them out to people. I mean, our target with the bags were, we really wanted to focus on residents more than visitors. Because we get more of the benefit, even though less plastic anywhere is a benefit.
And
Yes,
those
but-
of us who were in clubs brought them to clubs. I brought a whole bunch to the elementary school and gave them to the children there. They were thrilled about it. So, I don't know that I see them used a lot. I do see them used some. And I know that I keep them in my car, and my visitors, when they take my car and go to the market, will use the bags in the back. They-
I think the reusable water bottles would probably.
Yeah, I think so,
used,
too.
More, but again, you can't just say, well, you're a visitor, sorry, you can't have reusable water bottles, so it would have to be that we would be giving them away, and. if
Well, we thought
want-
it was a good
Events, I
souvenir, too. You know, we had a nice ecological message on it, and if it left the beach, good. We're getting the word out that Fort Myers Beach is ecologically minded, and
Yeah.
And there's
And
more
trying-
real estate on a bag than there is on a bottle for your.
that's true, yeah.
There is, but the usage is probably lower, I would say, than you maybe would use a bottle. And also, you'd probably produce a
And
heck
I
of a lot more
really,
bottles.
I did a lot of walking and talking to a lot of businesses. I didn't really get a great feedback on the bags. I did, get one business that was interested with the bag, but I didn't really have all that much interest in advertising on the bag. Maybe it's a different time, maybe, but,
Another thing, one target we were gonna, when we got the bags with paid advertising, we we're gonna give them out to people who advertise. But the short-term rental market is a place that, to have a bag that's intended to go in a short-term rental and stay with the rental.
they never do. I
good luck with
gave
that.
those to friends that had rentals, and they put a little card on there saying, please, leave. None of them stayed, not one. I gave, well, only 8 away, but still, all 8 are now gone.
One side we can say stolen from.
Let's see if I had any more in regards to.
So let's do this then. I mean, so, again, this is for budgeting purposes. We don't have to have it all spent today, but should we just set aside a certain amount for a town-oriented
Right,
item, such as,
such as bags or
Bags or
bottles
bottles,
or
right.
whatever else we come up with.
and we can bring that up at a separate meeting on exactly.
there are more
and-
people
And bring
here.
ideas and,
Right.
Do we
again,
then take these ideas and then get it approved through town council, or do we now just basically, how does
Send
this
it.
work?
we burn it, baby. We
Up to
go,
us.
go. Yeah, I think if we did
Just the way-
produce a
yeah.
bottle, we would, I mean, if we produced something that was representing the town, we would like to share it with the council.
I do
before
understand
moving
that
forward.
Jenny Dexter has to approve anything with with a logo on it. I was told by Daphne that, that anything with a logo has to go through Jenny Dexter. I did call her, and she then referred me, because I was calling her to ask her who I should use for printing, and she, told me to go to Allison Geisen, and that's how I ended up talking to her. But anything we do when it comes to the pamphlets, I believe we need to work with Jenny on, whether it needs just to go through her for approval. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, well, they're standardizing there.
Yeah, the issue with the
Usage, though.
logo is that it's I don't know if it's a registered trademark or the
Is it
town
just
owns
the
artwork.
town logo or Marine Resource Task
Well,
Force?
it's
logo?
consistency. I mean, it's consistency and.
Now, the Marine Resource Task Force logo also has a town logo up on the corner, so, does that mean that everything with the Marine Resource Task Force has to go?
For lack of a better term, my understanding is that logo is like intellectual property.
But also, she's responsible for keeping a consistent message and design and color, and there's a palette of colors, proper colors you're supposed to use and everything else. I mean,
Few of my volunteers with the pop-up had suggested that they would like to see the tent have, so sorry. Oh, it's my osprey lady, never mind. Had suggested that we have our logo on the top of the town tent, and I did send the estimate to Chad to send to you all. Maybe he didn't get a chance to see that, but it was, I believe, $765. But I, of course, don't want to pursue that until we figure out if MRF is, the name is going to be changed. There's no sense in putting MRTF if it's going to be marine, environmental and resource.
That's true. Plus, that would take a pretty good chunk of the budget, too, if you feel like you can continue on with the remaining
That's for a new tent,
1,300.
Jen?
That's for a new tent.
Is it bigger?
graphic.
It seems a lot of money.
It's the same size tent, but it's, yeah, it's actually, it's not printed on the canopy. It's actually woven into the canopy, and that's what makes it. And I believe the tent's probably a heavier duty tent versus the one that I have now.
But it's an easy up, right?
I don't know that.
It's the same structure, it's just a
I
different,
think it's a little bit bigger too, which may not
So
fit
it's
in
a
my
new
car,
super-
so I don't really know. I'd have to
so
look.
the entire tent is new.
It's a little bit
just not-
thicker and bigger. I think it's more like the town tent. And I'll get a better look at that during Shrimp Festival to see what the difference is between the one that I use and the one that the town uses.
Right, and then they'll, I think the process is sublimation, right? They'll put the image on, okay.
And that's something we can, we don't need to decide on now. That could be also something down the road. I will say that I had $1,000 for, just the pop-up, and I'm down to, I believe, $100. So the town, I have a lot of prints. I do prints on seashell guides and the nesting seashore birds and things like that that go very quickly, and the butterfly of Lee County. And I bring those prints to the town. And in the beginning, they weren't charging. However, now they are needing to charge to the count. And that actually, it really has brought down, or will bring down my budget.
So let me understand, Jen, you've used up almost your entire budget already,
$1,000.
and we're only March. So in other words, we need more money for you.
Yes, please.
For this year, you're saying? Right, then that's what this would be for, I guess.
Right.
And that's what the 2,000's for, so. Okay, so let's move this forward. We've got, so one of the questions is then where does the fertilizer cards, does that come out of the pop-up funds? That's the
I
question.
think
Or do
so.
we move, we change the bag to,
It's certainly not something, I mean, those are being handed out to people that are doing lawn service on the beach, so, I mean, we hand them out at the pop-up.
gotta come out of
The
somewhere, I
residents,
suppose,
but-
yeah. So let's do this. What if we make the bag, or the bag slash bottle slash item 4K? And we put one for outreach, just called outreach, and that would be for those types of items? Does that sound reasonable, or, I mean, it's almost a miscellaneous category. I know it would represent 20% of our budget at $1,000, but, I mean, well, there's gonna be different items that come up during the course of the year as well, so where do those go? Do we put those into outreach, add that to outreach and pop-ups in outreach?
Sure.
I mean, does that make sense to you, Jen? So it'd go from 2 to 3, and then that would include some of these other items because it's outreach. Does that seem to make sense to you?
Yes.
All right, so pop-up disappears, outreach goes to 3K, map is at 3, and the bag is at 4. So the other item
I'm sorry, so
And really, to be
yeah, I'm not gonna
honest,
move forward, but
the bags is not hard and fast. We could decide we don't want to do that, and instead it's going to go.
budgets, yeah, sure, budgets are very
Theoretically,
flexible,
This is
yeah,
tentative.
sure.
well, yeah, we can also, I mean, the pop-up, the bags or the cups could go under for outreach.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So we can be flexible with
yeah, because we'd also
how we
talked,
label and where we put these items.
yeah, yeah, because we also had talked about the potential of, maybe this year you just run it as a beta program where we actually get some narrowband LED flashlights for some facilities to see how that goes, and they'd have to be, I think, rechargeable, so they're not chasing batteries. and are reasonably robust so that they don't fall apart in a.
Have you looked into that?
Not yet, no, not until we know that's something that we would like to pursue, I think. But we're, again, where would that fall under? You slide that also under outreach? And maybe this
Everything.
first,
Everything is under outreach. It seems.
right, that's,
Getting a big miscellaneous drawer and
that's true, but, maybe that then comes out, maybe that becomes the item, the big program for the year, instead of the bottle of the bag. So, I'd just like to keep that up there, because I thought that was a great idea. Yeah, my question is, do we roll the whole thing out, or do we just do sort of a beta test? And set up a couple of them, and maybe look at it for the year, and then maybe next year that would become a larger item to say, let's do this.
Yeah, I think we should test it out, because you don't know when you're dealing with people how it's gonna work.
Well, if they don't show back up, if they lose them, they come back,
Right.
oh, we need more. No, you're done. That's it. So we'll keep that up there under the, one of the main beta. I'll put the flashlights, and, that's the only other thing I'd made note of last time. Hey, are we missing anything? Mary Rose, did you have anything, or
No, I don't.
anything for?
I don't know if the flashlight idea, did we run it past, Eve? I don't know that we want to encourage people coming out on the beach looking for turtles at night.
Yeah, no, I think that, I think
I don't know that we want to do that,
the input was that it would be better than the white lights.
definitely. But is it going to encourage people out there looking? Or I guess we can say you may not go out looking for turtles unless you have one of our lights. Then we can limit it.
Well, then you have to enforce it. I mean, people don't even ask, they just go out of their rooms
Right.
with their flashlights, and they go out on the beach. I don't think we have control of that, so,
My experience with people with flashlights, most of them are shelling. I do always get questions of where do you go to find turtles, and I usually point about 3 or 4 miles that way and say it's great, over there.
It's probably a good idea to try it and see how it works.
There are a lot of people out with flashlights at night.
There are, yes.
there are amazing amounts. Some of those are
It's
really,
just too
really
easy.
bright.
It's too easy to do. and-
Yeah.
And people are curious.
But
they
again,
wanna
that
see
would
what's
be-
there.
Yeah, and it's, yep.
Again, that would be good outreach. There's a lot of us volunteers out in the morning, and if we are to come across somebody, that's a great opportunity to have something in hand to say, hey, here's something that you can replace, and then educate them.
Yeah.
Instead of just asking them to turn off their flashlights in the dark, and then you walk a mile and they're right back on.
Yeah. So
At
how
least
about
I'll have something to
when you
replace.
fill in a hole?
How about
Right.
printing? Has there been a change in the town was printing some things, and now I think they've been asking for, charge? I mean, are there cost centers? Do we get a cost center number that can be used to pay?
So from what I understand is that if it's town material, then they won't charge. But some of the printouts that I have, and that Rose has had printouts are Lee County butterflies. And I have a printout that's from Barefoot Beach, which is the seashell guide, and it's double-sided. And so none of the printouts that I've had actually say Fort Myers Beach. I assume maybe, no, the Barefoot Beach is not, I looked into it, it's not, what's the word?
Trademarked?
Trademark, thank you. So it's not trademarked, so I could just white out the word, because it's just a picture. They don't, you can't trademark the names of shells or pictures of shells, so I could just white it out, and then it would be,
Put our logo on there, seal of
we
pride.
could put, yeah.
Well, I would maybe see
That's
if
a
you,
dirty trick, I think.
I've
if you can
seen
find the
others-
source, if you can find the source and see if they'll agree to let you do that.
Yeah, that's a dirty
true.
trick.
But if it's not trademarked, they don't own it. I've seen other, with the same pictures, with other people using, so I wouldn't even know where that original photo came from. The
What does it
photo's
say?
not
What does it
trademarked.
say?
It says, like, for example, Friends of Barefoot Beach. Or I think Lovers Key has one, Friends of Lovers Key shells that you can find. And it's all the same picture, so I don't
We can
think-
ask Katie Moses at Lover's Key what
I
she,
have.
and what she said.
Yeah, I don't,
Probably originated from
Maybe-
from a government source, because they
It's
don't.
just a-
tra-
She said
they
she
can't
doesn't
trademark
care.
their images, yeah.
I mean, it's just a picture of shells with the name underneath, so.
let's-
Okay,
Be bold and
yep. And purpose it with the FMB logo.
I mean, if
As long
it's
as
not
it's on the up and
trademarked.
up, right.
Well, I think, one thing is taking these things, if you roll them into one big brochure, like we're talking about, then maybe you don't need to deal with you wouldn't need to deal with the printing, and you wouldn't need to deal with all these different sourcing
I
things.
agree. However, we're, coming up on, we're in the busiest time, and I think I still have 5 more pop-ups, and we go through probably 50 printouts of each thing for each one,
Yeah.
sometimes even more. So
Yeah, they've been
that
really-
adds up.
Really busy, the attendance has been,
Very busy.
yeah.
But I think, we can put whatever budget money we need. It sounds like there's more enthusiasm for doing brochures and pop-up outreach supplies than there is for bags and bottles. So you
Yeah,
could
I
free
think
up a lot of money if you just say, we're not gonna do that, and we're gonna do.
right.
Well, but also, it sounds like you're gonna continue to do that in Bridge until the point potentially that you would have a more inclusive piece, yeah. So
Right,
more like a
right.
bridge, I suppose.
I mean, I would still continue to give these printouts until we have that
Right.
pamphlet, but nothing really happens very fast. I don't think I can get a pamphlet done by next week.
Right, of course, but then.
No, but just two different budget things, right? One is the existing supplies, and then the other is eventually be phased out, but for now, you're still dealing with the existing supplies.
Correct.
Well, yeah, I think what started this was, they currently, you say if it's a town piece with their logo on it, they will produce it without a
Or maybe
cost
not
center.
even a logo at all. For example, I don't think they weren't charging you for, pictures of just butterfly for coloring for kids. I mean, we're still doing town's work. So if it doesn't it's not coming from another organization, and we're printing these to hand out at a pop-up, we're doing town's work.
Right.
So I think that if it's a picture of something and it doesn't have, our logo or anyone else's logo or name on it, then I think it would be fine. But who makes that decision?
Town council.
And I'm thinking about it, it seems like it's kind of sixes, because when they're saying, the town is given a budget to MRF. So what you're arguing is where does the money come from to print these things? Well, we have a budget.
Yeah, but the town is giving us the money, so I mean, I guess if you just
It's-
want to take it back, that's fine
It's sixes,
too.
and that's fine. It doesn't mean you can spend the money. There's nothing say you can't spend the money within the town, right?
Right, but I think it is all coming down to where's it coming from, like you said, is this, that what started this was, is there a cost center? How do we bill this budget? How do we access the budget? How do we come in and say, we'd like to do this, take it from our budget, normally you say, here's our cost center number, and then they charge it against your cost center number.
So I have it situated.
Decreases your,
Yeah, I have it situated now that when I come into the town and I ask, or I email and ask if I need 100 prints, that information then gets sent to Daphne, who then takes care of it for
so
the
is that actually
prints, but
happening?
I don't
mean,
know
are
about.
So are their prints getting charged against the?
They were, but then they said, don't worry about it for now, but from here on out, we need to start charging you double-sided, 20 cents a copy. And I said, okay, so I just come in and you tally it up, and then it gets sent, you give the information out, and I believe that's gonna be the case. But the rest of the budget, or what else we need, I don't know who we go to.
Because normally there's intergroup cost centers that have to charge for their time. Is that correct, Chad? Does that occur here in Town Hall like it does in a normal, company? Everybody here.
I just print. I'm sure they're tracking
Okay,
me.
okay, okay. So it's a little less
But I wouldn't,
less sophisticated.
I wouldn't
yeah.
read that kind of detail. I think that probably for this budget, because The difference between having a budget and not is that we do our budget cycle in September, right? Now, this money's been budgeted, so I mean, it doesn't have to go back and be part of a budget discussion, but I think you still probably want the town council to go through and weigh in what you want. So if you come through with a laundry list of what you want to do, and if one item is, printing costs for the pop-up, and the other is to develop a brochure that's going to eventually still need to be printed, those be separate cost items. And then once it's approved, then, the town can, you'll be making these largely through the town anyway. So the town will be charging whatever when they do the work.
Yeah. I mean, however you guys want to go about it, I just need my, my seashell prints and my nesting bird guides, my ID guides. So however it works, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say, don't hesitate, Jen, whatever you need, bring up your bill, go ahead. If we spend our money, we spend it.
All right, so here we're at, so we'll leave it with this then. The main event is still budgeted at 4K, whatever that may be, and that's, again, we'll revisit this and see what that's gonna be. We got the map, that's hard, that's at 3K right now, and then the outreach is is 3K now, which includes pop-up and everything else that'll be done. All right, is that good for that section today?
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, let's keep kicking it along here then.
So just to be clear, nothing's been delegated or appropriated for the different bins yet?
Yes, they have. So again, the map shouldn't exceed $3,000, the development of the map. Is that what you're asking?
So are we making a motion on that?
I didn't realize we needed to make a motion on,
Shall I make a motion? Or do you need to make a motion on?
I think, before, you probably want to have a little more detail before you go in front of council and say what it is you want. You know what I mean? Because it's just like an outreach thing. If you're going to say the outreach is pop-up supplies, then maybe not.
Right, so,
If you consider the flashlights to be pop-up supplies. But you know what, you want a separate item, if you want something, because I think that what kind of sells easy to council is to say, okay, we decide we don't need bags, everyone's got bags. It's market saturated, water bottles probably pretty saturated. But we're unique because we would encourage people, if they're gonna go out on the beach and they want to take a flashlight for safety, or for looking for crabs, or whatever else, that they use a turtle-friendly light, and it's also a way to teach them about the light. So you say, okay, we want to get somebody and try this. Then, you come up with a list of specific things. Same thing with the pop-up. You say, we want to, it supplies, and we want, $765 for a logo tent. Then it's easy for the town council to look and say, okay, yeah, they've thought this out. They know where this money is going to go. We're not just.
so prior to moving forward on anything, they'd like to see a detailed budget,
A little more detailed, I think.
okay?
do we have to have the estimates from,
Well,
I'd say no.
there's different ways to look at it, right? One is let's say you want to do the red flashlights, right? One thing you can say, well, we have a budget of X number of dollars, and we'll just get as many as we can.
Right. Well, but the idea would be, how does it roll out? How many properties are gonna get these, and how we're gonna decide who gets them and who doesn't, and.
Right, I mean,
But
does
that's
Chad go around with some in his cart at night during his turtle check so he can?
Well,
get
the idea though is
lights?
that these are rechargeable, Bill, and that they're actually put in a hotel,
Oh, yeah, okay.
and it's at the front desk, and so they provide it to their guests, with their room number, whatever however their checkout procedure is. They use them, come back, and then there's recharging stations so that they aren't chasing reusable batteries. And
so
so who
If
gets
I'm-
them?
Right. We need some numbers on that, what those things are gonna cost. We can figure out how many we can afford.
Because it's kind of a very specific thing, it's not just a reddish light, right? It's a
Right.
Narrowband, right, LED.
So,
light.
but can the pop-up have access to, say, for example, at least $1,000 until we?
Yeah, for now, there has to be.
I think ongoing supplies is a perfectly valid category, because, you get a lot of support, council is very supportive of the pop-up, and they know that you're giving stuff away that costs money. So I think asking for the general supplies for printing and for the handouts you do, I don't see that being a problem. It's just a general number.
Okay, so let's do this. That's,
Then Jennifer needs $4,000, because she's already spent 1,000 and we're in March.
well, that was, no, that was foundation spending,
Oh, okay.
foundation money, so didn't come out of our budget, per se.
Well, she's, good-
You're
And I'm just
saying-
trying to
she's
think
looking at the,
ahead.
she's looking at
But
the
I'm
burn
saying-
rate.
Yeah,
Right, sure.
what
You're
You're
I'm-
burning through about, what,
Right.
$1,000 a
She's gonna
quarter?
need, at this rate, she's going to need more than we've allocated.
But some of those are for hard,
And I don't, when I say Jen, I don't mean you, I mean our pop-up.
But some of those are for, am
Actually,
I correct?
no.
That's all, none of that is
This is
reoccurring,
Thomas.
that's all
All
reoccurring?
giveaways, so this is,
I thought you got signs,
educating.
I thought you got like,
Yeah, but this stuff is falling apart on me because I use it so
okay, yeah,
often.
oh, I know.
My sign, the whiteboard sign, and everything's going up. So my whiteboard sign, I believe, was $189. It's falling apart on me. I can't, I'm like doing everything to keep it going.
Okay, so shall we adjust the numbers?
I think we should. I don't think Jennifer should be strapped.
Okay, so this is how, well, but also, are we all in agreement that a third of it should be used for a new tent?
Oh, yeah,
So is it 4,000 plus the 760, or is it 4,000 including the 760?
right.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to say.
We need a new tent, right? We have to
Well,
have
this
it. It
is,
has to-
this is actually a new tent, we want a custom, we want to modify. the
Right,
tent.
we want a
custom tent.
Right, so we need it, like, we need to look good.
But where are we with the Marine Resource Task Force then changing over to Marine Environmental Resource Task Force? And because then, this is actually a good question,
Go ahead.
that without that being changed over, we can't really pursue these pamphlets or tent or anything with our, that is gonna be, long-lasting. And I don't know how long it takes to do that.
Well, there's been consensus in council to put it on the future agenda item. The attorney draws up the change that in the ordinance that needs to be done, because it's got to be done as part of an ordinance. Then it comes in front of council for a vote.
How long does that typically take?
Anywhere from a month to a year. It really depends. Some things have more of a sense of urgency. A lot of times if it's simple and there's a strong consensus, it goes fast. But some things, it just, the town staff tries to keep a reasonable agenda for the different meetings so they don't run too long.
Okay, so hearing that, and in the sake of time, my understanding here is that we can, as far as outreach goes and the pop-up tent, I think it has broad support, certainly. It's from council, from their individual comments about it, so that should be ongoing out of the budget already. And that budget can be 3 to 4K, whatever it is. We have to come back and present the overall budget, and literally, we can decide that final number for the map, and then what we might call the main event, right? Whatever, I think the town would like something that money to go towards some type of something practical for the town. I might be wrong, maybe we don't. But my point is that we don't have to flesh all this out today, and that you can continue on, and then we can find out more about the tent.
Okay, so 4,000 will go towards a pop-up outreach that I can have access to.
Yeah, immediately. I mean, you sort of do already, I think,
Immediately.
so, yeah.
And then in reserve, put $1,000 in case we get the okay for the tent this year. And if we don't, then we can throw that 1,000 somewhere else.
Okay, we'll put that in the budget.
Good.
Okay, so we need to move a motion.
I don't think so, not until we're ready to present something, right?
No, we need to move a motion for me to be able to have access.
Okay, go ahead, make the motion if you'd like.
Okay, so I move the motion for $4,000 to be allocated to the pop-up outreach. $3,000 to go to graphics and printing. Am I correct in doing this? And $3,000
The main event.
for the main event. I move the motion.
Second.
You said
Discussion.
3,000 to each one.
Yeah, I have a
Oh.
question on those numbers, Jen.
No,
No, that's 10,000, so 4 and 3 and 3.
4 outreach, 3 map, 3
Oh,
back.
10 altogether, okay.
It's 10
Good.
for now.
Yep.
I've seconded. Any other discussion? We can discuss.
We can discuss. Well,
Hey,
I
if
guess
you
my
haven't,
discussion
That
is,
would be the time. If you don't like it, you need to speak up.
so, so I will be able to have access to this money without it going to the town council, once we make
I think
this
that was
motion.
the advice, sure. Yeah, that's ongoing, and we said it was widely supported, so,
Right, you're going to use it for pop-up supplies, you have the paperwork that proves that what you're spending on. Okay.
Just one quick question. So we know Jen's in charge of the pop-up, the other 2 buckets, who's gonna be spearheading that for the MRF? Who's gonna be in charge of spending that, you know?
Or looking into the graphics and the pamphlets and,
Just so I know who the point person is, and,
right.
you know, I don't give Miss Mary Rose a hairy eyeball whenever she comes in asking for pop-up supplies, and I know it's Jen's.
Right, so earlier, I mean, you're working on the map?
I would like to continue to work on that, and I
I have
would
your
like,
scavenger hunt down, I'll give it to you Friday.
wonderful, and I would like to work on looking into those flashlights and also.
Sure, I think
maybe-
that's one where I'll come with some ideas to say, here's a,
And those things we can take to town council
right, when we decide on
when
what
we
it will be.
decide what we need and how many, and
Right.
if it's okay with Eve and get her opinion on it.
And I'm not real sure about, you know, the procurement procedures, but if you're looking at someone like to do the graphic design and all that, it's pretty much gotta go through the town,
Right, that's what I said by
right?
PIO.
Yep.
Right.
And they have their procurement procedures, so they're gonna have to put it out for quote and yada, yada, yada.
So I would work with Jenny.
Or through Chad, any of his staff. Like, we did the bags, we found people to do it and then gave it to staff, and they went out and actually, you know, got some quotes and ended up with the same person that we did.
I feel good about that.
Okay. Good. Our staff liaison be happy with that.
Did we pass Jen's motion?
We're at discussion, so,
Okay.
any objections to her motion?
No
Okay.
objection.
Motion carries unanimously. Let's go to our next item here. I think we burned our 30 minutes on that one. So, what do we have next? Dark Skies is still
I
on
would-
the,
I would just make for the record, that we have 2 members and just are now here.
identify yourself, please,
Greg Fossum here.
Present.
And Robert Howell here.
Excellent.
And I think you might want to call this excuse since this is our first time change.
Yeah,
My tour went late.
glad to have you fellas. That's excused. Sure, it's not absent either, though, is it? It's late.
Tardy, yeah.
Tardy.
3 tardies, then it's a detention.
Okay, that's right. Well, that's not even addressed in our bylaws. You're tardy all the time. So Dark Skies, I think last time we left it, I think it's the same place it's been, actually.
It has, and as I have done nothing else on it, pending the town's decision on the lights that we're going to use here on the beach, I've not even responded to those people who were so helpful, because if we're gonna put in the wrong lights, Dark Skies goes out the window, and I'm not gonna bother them anymore. So, if you want me to advise people that I've been talking to about what we're gonna do, let me know what we're gonna do.
Correct, yeah, as a resident, I went and spoke with the public comment at the last town council meeting, and spoke a little bit about the process, their choice, and our municipal lighting ordinance, and how I thought there was a perversion of it. I don't know, you were there, weren't you, council member Veach?
He was very creative with his word choice.
Yes, yes, but I also was probably a little bit more firm and didn't use quite as much tact maybe it has in the past, because it's,
And I actually got up and spoke about my concern about the 3 projects and the lighting plans with Bayside Park and Times Square area. basically the lighting plan goes against our own lighting ordinance. And I had called Roger yesterday to ask him, and I saw him earlier. There he is. I had asked him after we had our Citizens Academy. We had a gorgeous cake, by the way. I had a sea turtle, and it was made by like an incredibly talented baker. And after, or I think before I had my cake, I walked back in to grab my bag and saw Roger, and Roger pulled me over to ask me a few questions, and since he is here, I asked him to elaborate with this committee on what the plans are for Bayside Park and Times Square, and why it is those lightings are kind of going against what town council's resolution was with Estero Boulevard being all amber lighting. It's, our committees worked hard, and one of the consensus with the Public Safety and the Marine Resource Task Force is that our town have uniformity. We don't want to have Estero Boulevard with amber lighting, and then you come into Times Square area and it's 3,000 Kelvin. It's not safe for humans, it's not safe for wildlife, and I really wanted Roger to come up and let us know, because he had said that there's, basically it's up to town council. Well, I'll let you, Roger, if you don't mind.
Okay. What's the question?
So the question was, I wanted you to elaborate on what you had said to me about there's 3 options, and it's really up to town council, if I'm correct, that, that you either have those plans, that you can install something and we can change it at a later date, we can do nothing, or we can have amber lighting. Is that correct?
Well, so there's, we have to be careful because we're talking about roadway safety lighting, and then we talk about the lighting in Times Square and Bayside Park. And then sometimes, I guess, perhaps the lighting of Old St. Carlos, and those things kind of get mixed together. So to the extent of what lights we use where, that is decided by town council. We usually use a consultant who provides a recommendation as to what they feel would be the most appropriate for each of those types of settings. That's considered by town council. Town council could do pretty much one of 3 things with any issue, including lighting. And that is, they could do nothing. They could pre-wire for future installation. Or they can authorize something to be installed, and obviously if they don't like the outcome, they could change that down the road.
So those plans that are right now in place for the lighting can be changed if council members decide to do so.
Yeah, I think one of the comments on another item that was discussed on Monday was that we could revisit things. So they could revisit things at any time they want to.
Do any of the members have questions for Roger? I think this is a good time to just, get as much information and maybe go back to the town council with our recommendations.
I think my biggest question is why would we even not do the amber lighting there? Like, when did that shift, or when did that change?
I don't know who said that we're not doing amber lighting there.
Well, then why is there even a discussion of it?
Well, there is.
There-
Right now, the plan calls for amber lighting half year.
Right.
And then there's also accent lighting that is being put in. So, first, I'd like to welcome the town manager. Roger, thank you for coming to the meeting.
thank you so much.
And I appreciate you
accepting
not
our-
inviting me for the budget discussion.
Okay, well, that was
It sounded very, very intense.
yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, it was a little more involved than maybe I thought, but, so appreciate you coming here. But where it stands right now, there's a consensus, I think, from the MNP meeting that they would go forward with the recommendation that's on the board, I think. So what you're suggesting is that we can go back to council potentially and make, a plea or recommendation, or it's really up to the town council to change course, which is my understanding as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, while you're here,
Well, actually, okay, so I do have a question. Were those plans with the 3,000 Kelvin lighting already?
Wait, which plans with the 3,000? That's where you have me totally confused. I don't know which. plans you're
The Times Square?
They're actually not
Lighting
3K lighting, they're kind of like, they're controlled lighting, so you can have almost any color you want.
no, she means the site lighting.
Site lighting.
There's site lighting, and then there's the uplighting. The site lighting is the dual board amber
Okay.
3K.
Correct, thank you. I guess I just wanted to know, when were those plans decided on? Were they decided on after the resolution had been passed by the town council?
So those light
Or
fixtures.
Estero Boulevard, pardon me.
Well, I believe it was before, but that being what it is, that specific lighting fixture was shown to town council and discussed with town council, and town council said it was okay, I believe, and I don't want to speak for them, they could speak for themselves, because it allowed for amber lighting as well as white lighting. So, but I assume that's why they were okay with it, but I don't really know.
If, Mr. Town Manager, if there's an eventuality where the dual light was not, could not be used in Times Square, how would that affect the rest of the project down to Bayside Park if that was already installed, let's say? Because I know that's the first step, correct, Bayside, and it's gonna go
I'm
to
not sure I
Times Square.
understand your question, Steve.
So the question is if for some reason that the dual light couldn't be used in Times Square and it was already installed in Bayside Park, how would that affect, would you just keep the one light on the entire time, or, so like the amber, let's say it couldn't be used, for some, if the FWC, let's say, wouldn't approve a permit for the use of the dual light in Times Square, would you then just not use the white light for Bayside in order to keep the
Well, right,
consistency?
we would try to use the same fixture type for, no, I mean, the same mast arm or pole and
right.
and head if we could. The
Right.
bulb, we would try to, make work with whatever the appropriate regulation is. If FWC came out with a new regulation next week, we would try to change the bulbs to accommodate that regulation.
Okay.
I mean, our current practices, when we can't change a bulb to accommodate a regulation, we turn it off, is what we do.
Right, that's correct, yeah, which I think most people don't want. I mean, they want some type of safety lighting.
I agreed, but,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to take the best of a poor choice of paths.
I'm going to go a little off topic here, Roger, but do you have any idea when the MRF name change is going to come in front of council?
Well, I'm not drafting that item. Mr. Herron is a town attorney. So when he drafts it, we'll put it on the next available agenda, whenever that is. I mean, rarely we have an agenda that is so busy that we can't accommodate an item. And that's usually a case when we have a multitude of land planning issues, because those are the ones that tend to take longer amounts of time. But probably out of our 24 meetings a year, to get one item on any of those 20 is no big deal, whenever he's ready.
All right, thanks. I'll talk to John.
Well, thank you, Roger, for coming in. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to clarify and
My pleasure. Can I speak to the budget thing, just maybe offer some
No,
clarity?
absolutely, please do.
Okay, so what we try to do from the budget standpoint is to have a good cost center, and I don't mean that as it's a number, but it's also when people say what the things cost, we can describe it. So your committee has a budget, I believe it's $10,000, if my memory serves me correctly. And that's fine. Frankly, within what they get spent on is really a matter for the committee to pick. What we get concerned about and why we ask for a motion is because one person is working on a flashlight program and they think they have X, and then you have person Y who's spending some other money on another program, i.e. pop-up, and then the last person to the well doesn't get a drink, whoever that might be. So long as there's agreement among you all at these public meetings as to how to spend that $10,000, we really don't care. Obviously, we want it spent on MRF-related activities. If you say you want to do something that's out of the realm, then we would tell you to take it to council. The other thing is that when we print something, it's not only the letterhead or whatever, it's just really to understand what the cost of your program is. So if, we print 10,000 copies for the pop-up, we just want to know that because that has a cost of room paper costs a certain amount of money, and it costs us a certain amount of money to run it through the copy machine and all that. We want to know that, and you want to know it, so if you want to increase or decrease your budget or use money for other things, we're all working off sort of the same rules of engagement, if you will. So that's really what it's really all about. So let me just give you another sort of off the wall example. So I know Jennifer does a lot of shopping and setting up and all that herself. Let's just say at some point she said, I'm tired of doing that. I'm tired every other weekend.
Never.
Of carrying this stuff and setting it up and dismantling it and storing it and all of that. Well, if she came to us and said, well, we want you to do it, we would say, fine. We'll send our public works folks out to do it, but then they're going to charge your cost center for it to pop up to do that.
Right.
So, because that becomes cost of the program. So that's all we're trying to do.
Right.
That's understandable. So even if I were to come and just with nothing on here, no logo, I still need.
It's still copies that we get charged from by the copier company who we're leasing the copier from. And frankly, I'm not here to tell you how to spend your committee's money, but, there may be some, obviously if you print things in bulk at a printer versus running it through a copier machine, it's cheaper. So, at some point you may want to think about that.
I was gonna say Staples is like 5 cents a copy.
It's
Right.
not. It's not. I've already looked into 10 other.
But whatever, but however you all want to do it, but we don't charge you for the person who stands there, who puts it in the feeder. But we do have to charge for the cost of the copier because that's what we're paying.
Any other questions?
Okay, well, it's great to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for attending.
So you don't mind coming to the committees if we have questions for you?
I usually try to stop in. Your committee hours were kind of weird for us because it kind of started later and ran later than versus our other committee, so it came at a little bit of a bad time for me per se, but now if you're starting earlier, that's easier.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you, Roger.
Okay. So moving on. Let's go to Shrimp Fest. So you all have heard that the Plan A couldn't quite come together with lack of a trailer that could haul the beast.
The boat looks so good too.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's all done and
it
ready.
does. Well, the difference maybe a year makes, right? Maybe we can.
There's rain coming, we might need a boat.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it's an 80% chance of rain for Saturday.
And Sunday's wind will blow my boat away, so.
Oh man,
It's on there.
I mean that's just
We're in the middle of a drought.
exactly right. Well, but you know how forecasting is here down in Southwest Florida. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed. So we have the same setup as 2 years ago, where we had the availability of the trailer, the same trailer that we had 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Something like that. Whatever. Our last
Right.
Shrimp Festival. We also have the panels that were already pre-painted, and so that makes up the.
How do the panels look? Did they hold up?
Oh, they look great. Yeah,
They
perfect.
could use a little bit more
They need some
Little
touch up?
touch-up. Yeah, yeah.
touch up, they could use more stuff, because that was,
So the idea is there, no better time than the present. So Friday, we're gonna have a little afternoon and evening, come as you will. I mean, it's not scheduled, I suppose, but, again, it's only one day. I don't know who can even make it.
I can be there Friday
Okay.
after 3.
Yeah, we'll have cooler beer and everything else going on, so it'll be good.
Where, Steve, at your house?
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna have it at our house, my
Good.
house, yeah. And I can send you all the address, but, if you don't know where it's at, but, yeah, it's parked there and no reason to move it. It's not gonna be a problem. So, a couple things I had, I have to mount I checked out the old photos and you had them mounted right on the wheel wells, Bill. I was thinking they were gonna go all the way up, but after looking at that, it's a 4-foot panel and a 3-foot trailer bed at 7 feet. You couldn't look over it if people were inside of it.
Right.
So it's been lowered. You had 2x4s that was sort of the structure that was holding it, but I think I'm gonna use Eureka palms.
Are they
To
strong enough?
support it. Oh, sure, the trunk of Eureka palm.
Okay.
And also, that's a thought. I'm gonna play with it.
I have no idea how you're gonna make it work, but hey, I
Yeah, it's your, yeah.
parked in your driveway.
Right, all right, so that sort of thing I'm gonna work on before Friday, because that's a little bit more involved. But then we'll have the ability to work on the panels if you wanna paint, but also, the trailer it's got primer on it. So he looks like he went around and primed a bunch of spots that were rusty, and it doesn't look as attractive. So I think Jen maybe came up with the idea, instead of using, or somebody, maybe Rose did, use palms to sort of cover that. Originally, I said, well, let's take some plastic or something.
Well, I thought about taking Eureka palms and getting, like a twine and just tying them together. I don't know if that would cover that up. But again, I don't know what the wind's gonna be like Saturday morning, so everything's gotta be pretty fastened
Pretty
down.
fast, and well, I think I have the materials. I went, today was landscape day, so I had a neighbor that had a pile of Eureka palm tops, was still attached to part of the trunk, so I mean, really sturdy. So I think we can probably wrap those around if we have to.
The only thing I know I did before is I made like a 1x2 frame to stiffen up the boards. And then, of course, you have the places you can put 2x4s in it.
Right.
You just want it strong enough where if someone leans up against it, they don't go tumbling out in the street.
Sure, absolutely, yep. Yep, I didn't realize about the 1x2s, but we can take care of that too. You had inflatables, we had inflatable animals, which you said you still have.
I still have them.
We're not gonna release them into the Gulf, Jeff, so don't tell us you can't use rubber elastomer tires either, so unless you're gonna chisel out some
No, they're cute.
some tires, unless you have better ideas. I mean, the fact is this is what we have to deal with. If you'd like to optimize it, then you have every opportunity to do it,
You
but,
still have the big sea turtles?
I think so. I think everything just went into a box. I'm not sure if they're gonna hold air. They've been sitting in there now for a couple of years, but
I'm sure they'll be fine.
yeah.
But I could supplement too. I mean,
Put Band-Aids on them like they were at Crow.
There you go.
we had, in
stickers
the
on
bed of the
Yeah.
truck, we had the steak. I'm hoping Mary Rose still has her
Sure, I can
turtle.
do
She
that.
was a huge hit.
Do we?
Turtle lady! All the kids were screaming, turtle lady, wave at
Well,
me.
it's a new and improved costume.
Oh,
Steve.
okay.
You won't recognize me. But I'm also wondering,
On purpose.
You'll be the one just blindly walking towards the 3K lights.
probably, do we have something that we can pop up and then say, look for our pop-up?
Oh, so we need the
You know,
banner.
like a
I
pop-up
think
ad.
last time we had the
Something-
banner. We can, when we finish the parade, we can put the banner
Well,
back
we
up.
have, I think, we have two banners. We have the old banner with the old logo, and then we have the new one. But, yeah, we can use the old one, and then after the parade, just go and put it up at the pop-up.
But
The banner won't be up then during the pop-up for the first until after the parade.
That's what I'm saying, so.
So
we
the
just-
pop-up will be there.
Right, but the
but there
new
won't
banner,
be-
you said the old one, wouldn't you use the one with the good logo?
Yeah. Yeah,
Sure.
you'd probably want to use that for the parade.
Yeah,
And
I
I guess
think
I
it was in
could-
the back.
If I still have it, I don't know if I have the old banner or not.
But
don't
correct,
know
I
if
mean,
the
we'd use it for
town
the
has it.
parade, immediately take it down, walk it over,
Walk it over.
and hang it up, so that's.
Yeah,
what
as
I
long
mean.
as it's not 100-mile-an-hour winds, right.
Right, okay. So, we had an idea also.
What do you need for Friday then? Do you need rope or?
I actually have a ton of crab line that I
paint or
have, so we
anything?
can accent. I have old buoys. Bill's got the paint.
Do you have paintbrushes? Do we need, what do we?
So how
All
about,
the paintbrushes, palettes, and paints from last time in a box.
the only consideration might be some sea grape garland,
Sea grape garland.
leaf garland. What if we actually threaded garland with big sea grape?
Who's got sea grape we can,
Oh, we have a hedge of it at our
We
house.
got it everywhere, yeah. You can go to an access and there's just tons on the ground, yeah.
okay.
That's like our mulch in the back, a lot of our backyard are the old leaves, and they last forever.
So you'll bring the sea grapes?
I can try. I've got something Friday evening that I've got to do, so.
Right, right. Well, this is the afternoon too, so we'll be out there. I mean, it's gotta be done, so I'm gonna.
And what time and where are we meeting Saturday?
Saturday is at Bay Oaks, and I don't know what time it is.
8 o'clock.
8 a.m. is when, you can probably get there a little later. It doesn't start till 10, the actual parade?
No, I believe it starts at 9. They
Oh,
shut
9,
down the
okay, so
bridge.
Yeah, the
Do
bridge
we
shuts
start-
down.
Okay, so 8's a good number.
And what time Sunday then, and where's the pop-up, I guess?
I had sent that information to Chad to share with you. It's, let's see, there's a map of where the pop-up will be. We're in spot 62, which is to the left of the entrance off of Estero Boulevard in Lynn Hall Park. I don't think you'll miss us. We're adjacent to Estero Boulevard, not on the Gulf side in Lynn Hall Park. So if you're envisioning looking at Lynn Hall Park, and you are going into the entrance, you would take a left, and we're up against the Estero Boulevard side.
Okay. And time you want us there on Sunday?
And so that email that Chad has, he'll forward it to you along with that email are directions, parking passes, information on parking, and the schedule of all the people that are going to be on there.
Does that include?
I did not have you. Now you gave me that you were available for the pop-up for Saturday.
I'm both days.
Oh, you are,
I
okay.
mean, I was gonna come for both days.
Okay, great,
It was just gonna be later on Sunday, that's all.
fantastic. Great.
If you don't need me.
We could always use you to try and, catch all the paper that's gonna be flying around.
But is there any, for parking for the parade then, where should we be for that
That will be all of Bay Oaks.
Okay,
Bay Oaks, yeah. Hopefully there's room there, and we'll find a spot.
okay. Thank you.
So that's the program. Friday afternoon and evening, we'll finish it, drag it over Saturday
What
morning.
was the
and
time
go.
at your house?
I don't know, anytime after 2, maybe? How's that sound?
I have to be at Lynn Hall Park to help set up. The town's gonna set up the tent, and I need to take the tables and all the other stuff, so,
Yeah, that's at 5, you said?
yeah, so.
That would be your opportunity, Miss Creative.
So 2 o'clock, you said, at your house?
Sure.
Okay.
So Jen, those emails have been forwarded. On the tent quote, there wasn't an actual, I didn't see a quote. I don't know if I missed something or if there's supposed to be an attachment, but I didn't see a number in there.
Okay.
You can resend that one.
I'll resend it. Are we moving on to exotic vegetation?
Yes, we are.
Oh, good. That project is just about finished with the Google mapping. I still have someone working on that. And we came up with 9 addresses where obviously Master Gardener volunteers went around the corner on a street and the street name changed and they missed that. And there's a few other places where, and I recall this, where either there was construction of new homes or there was road construction, so there was no mailboxes, and if there were no addresses on a building, it was kind of like guessing, between 212 and 217 or 218. It's like, well, that could be 214, 216, so we're doing some double checking on a few. So that will be, all the rest of it's all completely done on Google Maps, where you can click on a link and it will open up all the invasive plants on that property. And then you can also see which areas in the town have the most invasive plants.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's really close. So I'm hoping to get that flash drive.
Yes, it is being searched for.
Okay. I'll make you another one.
And also, Rose, you, on the content on the website, you had provided some input. Did,
It got changed.
okay,
So now it does say the University of Florida IFAS plant information on both the environmental sciences and also for MRF under native plants. It does still have Calusa on there, which is a native plant, and that, when you click on that, it goes to a gardening center site. Not sure if we really want that on there or not, because that gardening center sells exotic plants of all types as well as native plants. But
okay.
It's best to avoid any kind of encouraging any kind of specific business too. Because the town doesn't really differentiate between, competing businesses.
okay. So then Calusa just has to go.
Okay, I'll let Jenny know.
Excellent. Any other?
No, good work, Rose.
That's come so far, that's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, so what's next? Sea turtle notice. I think that's our staff liaison item.
Yeah, if you can pass this around, it's just showing y'all what, we send these per the ordinance that was passed in 2020. Just a notice that goes out with the water bill. Ran it by Eve. She gave some input, and that's what it looks like. Any questions for upcoming sea turtle season? Suggestions, criticisms?
I think we need to have a discussion about it next month.
What's it?
What did you spot on there?
Oh, nothing in,
Oh, I thought you saw something that said, uh-oh.
no, but that would
Question
give
was
us,
what-
that would give us some time if we do have
Yeah.
questions. I just,
So there was a question that came up last town council meeting about the film. Has the town, I guess the council has to weigh in on that, correct?
Yeah, I think
On the film?
council said that they were going to look at it at a MMP meeting, so. What's the question?
That's where it stands. That's just the status from your perspective. Okay. And this
Oh.
you said is going into the water bill?
Yes, sir.
can we get a copy of that? Or can you email it to us? Thank you.
When does beach
Water bill.
renourishment start?
So we're good.
I never checked.
So right now we're in permitting. The tentative schedule is late 2023.
Okay. And did you ever find any of that info about like the ectoderms and stuff?
No, I meant to look up the biological opinion for that. I'll get it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, do we have any idea how many people, and I know, because it was always a means to communicate with the town was through the water bill. Do we know how many people actually pay their bills electronically?
I think there
Versus-
is some attrition to the mailers for people who have selected electronic only.
Mm-hmm.
I can talk to Christy to see if there's any way of emailing that PDF to those people who are electronic.
Because I think that would get, that would be much more effective anyway, because I think a lot of people get them electronically. I mean, does anybody here still get a mailed water bill?
I don't.
I don't. Doc?
Nope, electronic.
Rose?
Nope.
Yeah.
Electronic.
So it'd be interesting, yeah, to see what, even if we had a percentage for the future, because we have talked about using that same venue to communicate.
I'll see what our capabilities are.
Okay, roger that.
Yeah, I think I'll put these up on my bulletin boards at my condominium, and I think other places should also.
And I'll use
Yeah,
it
that's
at
a
the
great
pop-up.
idea.
Try to fit as much as I could on one sheet and still be,
Yeah, it does
somewhat
look
legible.
excellent.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And I like the way you use
A lot
the
of
color
info on
coded,
there, yeah.
so some things pop out. Good work, Chad.
thank you.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So, Good Citizen Award, Murphy.
It wasn't in the Observer today. Oh,
No,
none of
I
our-
think it's not gonna
next
make
week.
it till next week,
Next week.
yeah, so we got, and that was a friend from,
From the Wyndham, who
Wyndham,
has the
yeah.
water collecting device.
correct. So does anybody have a Murphy?
I do. Oh, go ahead, Jen. I saw Jen. Her face lit up more than
I
mine.
actually didn't have one until it just came to me that there was a couple that had been walking to 7-Eleven in front of the outrigger and saw two ospreys fighting. There's an actual power line that's directly onto their property, and it houses, I think, their whole electricity. And if you notice on Estero Boulevard, all of those poles have a cone at the very top of the pole. But this particular pole that's on the outrigger does not have a cone. Anyhow, so what ended up happening is this couple saw these two ospreys fighting for that spot, and unfortunately one of them, as it was taking flight, hit its wing and fell to the ground. And they took it upon themselves to call base to notify them. The base came to pick it up and went out of their way to get in touch with TIOF with pictures to say, what's going on here. And I think anytime someone takes a few minutes to sit down and write an email to, notify someone of a wildlife in danger, and then go home and write a letter to say, hey, can you please look into it, I think deserves some recognition.
Okay, any others?
That's a good one. Along those same lines, and I was doing some housekeeping, and Turtle Time still had some birth announcements up. So the one that was right by Beaches is just two doors away. I was removing it, and somebody actually questioned me and said, "Why would you remove turtle information?" People, whoa!
That's cool.
And I said, "Thank you so much for being aware that this has to do with our ecology here." So of course it gave me an opportunity to talk turtle, and I wish I had taken a photo of that man, and I didn't. I'm thinking that would have been an opportunity, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll see him again, I'll recognize him.
I think when we're excited to see other people realize that
I was so glad he was calling me out, because I didn't have a Turtle Time shirt on. I was just, relaxed, and I thought he was just being pleasant, and then he said, "Why would you remove that?" And I really had to talk him down. So I will, if I can see the man, I'll take that for the next time. The other thing is, and I don't know if this is something that would even be a Murphy winner, but there's a condominium somewhere down on the south end, and they play bocce on the beach every week. There's men one day and women another. They come out and they set it all up, like half a dozen different bocce courts. They have all their equipment. A whole herd of people comes out, sets it up, plays the game, and then they clean it all up. You'd never even know that so many people used the beach, and they do it every week all season. And I think it's a very positive thing.
Good example.
Yeah, so I might, and I don't know who they are. I don't know which condominium association it is, but I see them every week, so I could certainly pursue that if we
Yes,
feel we
that's a good lead.
should. Okay,
Yes.
I will do that.
Any others, Rob? Did you have?
Yeah, so mine, I don't know if it's biased or not, but and it's not my manager, but there is a manager at the Pink Show Resort who has gone out of his way to make sure that the cutlery is now biodegradable and compostable. The straws now are not that fade anymore. They have two kinds. In one restaurant, he turned them into a pasta straw, and then the other, and I have examples of them. I'll bring them in. Actually, I have them for you. They gave them to me to give to you, Chad. I just was in a hurry today. And the other ones are like a chickpea kind of thing, but they're really neat, and they're like really trying to work towards getting no plastics. And he's kind of taken it upon himself to do that. And I think that someone high up in an organization like this that is saying, oh, sorry, that is saying like, I know this is more expensive, but it's the right thing to do, you know, and without me prodding him, you know, has been a big, I think it's a good example also of other resorts and stuff should do. Because even the cutlery, that was the worst thing. The crows would come in, and we had these condiment packets had ketchup in it, and you'll still find them about as the crows come in, take them off the carts of the cleaners and that, and you'll find them all over. The crows were doing more littering than the people were.
Sure.
And but now it doesn't matter. It's in paper, and you know it washes away, and it doesn't add anything negative. Yeah, that's mine.
Excellent. All right, so we have, I think, yours are.
Yeah, I
those
would
are
have to pursue
suggestions,
them,
really,
right, they're
You have to
suggest,
pursue those.
I just wanted some direction as to whether they were Murphyable or not. But if they are, I'll,
Oh, because I'll tell
I'll
you, the
document
Murphy
it.
Bank is empty.
Okay.
We're all withdrawn, so they're definitely Murphyable. So really, then we've got really the two. How do we usually do this?
the
when we
edible
have two?
cutlery,
Yeah, they're just the elimination
Or-
of plastic. Yeah.
right.
Or the Osprey Murphy.
Yeah, which is
So-
also gonna involve FPL coming out and putting on a cone and things like that, so.
I think the osprey are fledging now. I saw 8 of them all hunting at the same time, so it must have been parents and offspring, because some of them were not successful at all. There's a very long learning curve for catching fish with your feet, I think.
So let's move it to a vote, I guess. I'm trying to remember how we've only been having one per session. So just who's in favor of Rob's versus who's in favor of Jen's? How's that? Does that work?
What about timeliness?
We
Is
have
it,
to make a motion.
No, I don't think I'd make a motion, but just, you know, I would just say, everybody gets one vote. So you say Bob, you know,
Right.
Rob,
yeah.
All right,
Jen.
all right.
Do you have pictures of the straws and
I have pictures. I have these straws, and I have the picture.
have you talked to your manager to see if he would be okay to be in the paper with
I
that?
asked him if he would be okay being nominated, and he was real. Oh, cool! How he was really excited about it. Yeah, he thought it would be really neat.
Okay.
Honored is the word he. Yeah.
Who's in favor of Rob's?
Wait, I have one question, though. Do we have a problem with Pink Shell? Are they lighting violators or something?
Well,
No, they were awarded like one of the highest.
We've come.
Okay, I just don't want to pat anybody on the back who
Well-
should get a slap across the face and
I think Chad's a good one to ask about that because I mean I try to work with Chad pretty good on keeping him in check, but there's some things that are rough.
I mean, the pink shell sign has been up during season. The pink shell, the big, huge one, is up, and you can see it. So, and I have seen that for myself. So,
So is that enough to disqualify them, or?
well, maybe they just weren't aware that it was on. I don't know. I guess ask Chad if they've had any.
Ask Chad if anybody hasn't had any violations, maybe.
One of the big reason I wanted to do not again I'm really trying not to be biased about it, but even if it was Lani Kai or another resort, I think the fact that they're trying
I think
is one reason why I was.
hugely.
Yes, there's like you know what isn't, who isn't, but I think I don't know they're trying.
So, do you have the names of the distributors for the straws and all? And, okay. And so you know for a fact it's biodegradable and.
Yeah, I've tested the cutlery in my garden, and it was gone really quick.
And the cutlery is being used all throughout the hotel of Pink Shell?
Yep.
I mean, obviously not,
Huge.
When does
not,
this article due?
His will be next month, for this coming month, right? So,
We could just do the whole article on,
oh, his next article.
your
Ah.
next article.
I just did mine in December, so I'm not due for another while.
I did
Oh.
that in December.
Or whenever mine, was it November then?
After or before?
I think I'm due for April, and I have no ideas, so if anybody has any ideas, tell me.
I still think the Atala butterfly, I feel bad I didn't do it.
You know that story of Mary Rose?
No.
You tell about the butterfly?
They just came to us, yeah.
Yeah, but they're
beautiful.
they're in the County and they're really rare and they thought they were extinct and they found them. It's a really interesting
Right.
story.
And yeah, and they're on the bushes at Newton also.
I have a whole bunch of information I can get you.
Yeah, and they're gorgeous.
We have great pictures of them. So if you want to research that, and make it
It
a
was
story.
Randa who
Yeah,
turned me on to those butterflies.
that's Awesome.
By the way, that's what I'm gonna be in the parade, as a butterfly.
Oh,
An Atala butterfly?
It's probably a prancing, dancing butterfly.
All right.
We can
I
spray
do
paint
have
it.
2 more wings, not butterfly wings, but I have an osprey wing that's available that anyone can wear, and I think another hawk-like wing.
They might confuse you for an angel.
Oh.
I nominate Steve Murphy.
All right, let's move along here. Let's move along here. So all in favor of Rob's Murphy Award?
Well, I'll just say if you want to go for it, and I can do mine
bank
next
yours.
month.
I need a
Bank
bank.
mine, I'm
Oh,
okay
yes.
with that.
Man, okay, good.
Oh, no vote at all? No.
She's withdrawn hers for the bank.
Okay.
But if you'd like to see a unanimous motion, we'll all raise our hands.
I was gonna vote for Chad. No.
Okay, good. So Pink Show will be the Murphy for this coming month. And let's keep moving on here. How are we doing? 3:43, not too bad. Although before moving into members' items and reports, I'd like to actually, if you would consider it, swing back to the dark skies, or at least the subject of the lighting in the downtown. I think when Roger came in, we all kind of talked, and we didn't finish the subject per se, because the recommendation really was to work with the council, obviously, because they're the decision makers. So my thought is we had provided a motion to them before on the subject. Would it be appropriate to draft a motion to provide them another motion to reconsider moving forward with what they had in consensus at the M&P meeting, which was more or less 3-2, to sort of move forward with what was presented to them on that day.
Should we ask to speak with them directly, rather than just writing something?
I see Bill inching up toward the microphone.
I think though, because Steve came and talked as an individual,
Right.
because he really hadn't passed it. But I think that if you have a motion, then it allows Steve to write something up and to present something with the weight of Murph behind him.
Correct, as an advisory board versus a resident.
And then when he comes up as an advisory board, we can have a conversation with him. Public comment, we don't.
Oh, okay. So is that the way to go about it then?
I would
I
agree.
would say if we want to communicate directly to town council and public, that'd be the greatest,
I think this is
Way to do it.
important enough that we need to communicate with them.
right?
And whatever's the best way to do it, let's do it.
So, that being said, we've got to,
What do we
should
want
we
to say?
craft it right here?
Yeah, let's do
Is it a
it.
possibility
Let's
of
do it.
having it, it has to be approved here at the meeting, so it's not like
Yeah.
you can submit something and. So, okay, so let's move quickly here then.
What was our previous motion? Was
I
that,
was looking for it, and I don't have it here in front of me.
I remember it was uniformity of lighting throughout the island.
Well, there's
Is it in the minutes?
essentially,
Steve, is it in the minutes?
no, because this was a couple months ago.
Couple
Yeah,
months
it was,
ago.
it was a couple months ago. So I don't have it here in front of me, but I think the issues at hand are number one, I think there's safety issues with the design. So there's uplighting. Like I said, there's 72,000 lumens that are gonna be thrown up into the air, directly up at no more than a 10-degree angle. It can go 30, but it's right now written at 10 degrees. It's all gonna be coming from below, or waist or below. So it's either gonna be in the ground, or it's gonna be on short posts, I think. And they are sort of aimed at maybe the trunk of a yeah, that was, so, more specific, I think, than this one. This was, from last council, there was a motion, actually, that actually Bill had brought up at the M&P meeting, to be honest with you.
Yeah, this is going back a couple.
Right, this was just the last one. So, but also, so there's a safety issue, but there's also the safety issue of moving between, for half the year, they're gonna have white light, site lighting, and then it's gonna turn amber for half the year. But again, at the intersection of Fifth Street and Old San Carlos, it's gonna be amber all year. So you're gonna be, again, conveying people and cars through that area into white light again, and then back into amber as it stands right now. And typically moving through different light colors and light temperatures is not recommended usually for safety reasons. And I believe that's actually written in the consultant's documentation. So public safety is number one, I think, but also uplight is actually the definition of glare. I mean, it's you're producing light that you can actually see the source. And it's my opinion that if you're walking amongst that, because it's all going to be there's going to be 36 of them in Bateside Park, 153 of them throughout Times Square, that it also, there's a sort of a hot spot issue too. If you're looking down at it, you get it right in the face. So there's a public safety issue, and then the second thing is, again, that even as it sits right now, as far as I can tell by any of the materials, is that it still does not, it is not compliant with our ordinance. The photometric study shows that the amber light in Bayside Park is below the minimum illumination level, so it's too dark by 100, but it's below 0.8, it's 0.78. But also at the edges of the property, it has to be a half a foot candle. Right now, it's 8 times that. So that's to prevent light trespass into the neighbor's area. But also with 4 foot candles of light, you're going to be walking into 1 foot candle of amber light right on the curb at the edge of Times Square. So not only does it not meet the compliance, but there's that safety issue right there too. So that's an issue, but there's also the question of does it really meet the purpose of the intent of the ordinance, and that is to reverse the degradation of the night sky. And I don't think so. If you're pumping up 72,000 lumens in Bayside Park and 300,000 lumens straight up into a few coconut palms and off metallic poles that hold up the shade sails, I mean, that's just going straight up. None of it's being returned. So those are the issues, I would say, and that we would really recommend that they just, and it's not because I think we're against light, it's the ordinance is there for a reason. It's a good ordinance. Please follow it. And again, there were 8 people plus a redundant lighting specialist that was backing up then the subcontractor lighting person that we're paying also indirectly through DRMP to sort of push this. And I just think it's a square peg in a round hole. And
I would just say that complexity sometimes is the enemy of clarity.
yes, of course, yeah. So I was just bringing everybody up to date on exactly maybe what the issues are with it, in my opinion. And I think there's illumination level issues too.
Why don't we do multiple separate motions to make it clearer and simpler? A motion, no uplighting as per the ordinance.
And I would generally define, because a lot of the stuff, I was, of course, one of the 2s on the 3-2 vote. And it wasn't a vote, it was just a consensus and M&P. There's nothing really binding in it. But the uplights, they claim they're not uplights because they're not straight up at 0 degrees or at 10 degrees.
Well, they're not. They actually have no guidelines, period, because they're accent lights, which are not defined in the ordinance. If they're actually spotlights, there's definitions. You can't, there's lumen levels, and they give you guidelines on how you can use those lights. But instead of calling them spotlights, which actually the documentation, the drawings, I actually call them spot fixtures, spot floods. The cut sheet for them says spot flood on it, but they're being used as accent lights, which are not defined. So there are no rules.
So in the lighting
What they can
plans, in Times Square, the lighting plans for Times Square, they're calling them accent lighting.
Or they're
being referred to as accent lighting.
They're only using accent lighting in reference to the ordinance and getting the land development order to put them in.
So it's like a loophole, gray area kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, and in the actual specifications, or I should say the architectural drawings, photometric plan, it's called the 10-degree spot fixture. And like I said, the cut sheet says spot flood on it. I mean, but again, they're not using it as a spotlight, which is identified in the ordinance. It's an accent light for landscaping, material, architecture, which have no requirements associated with them. So the analogy is that, and I had used it at the meeting, was that a roadway light is no longer a roadway light, it's a accent light that accents the road. Or a sign light is not a sign light. I mean, if you apply that reasoning, a street, you know, a sign light is not a sign light, it's a light that's accenting the architecture of the sign, that type. I mean, if you follow that thinking, that's how it would work.
Is it too broad to make a motion that would say all lighting?
What, turn all lights off downtown, are you
No,
suggesting?
all, like, say, like, all like pedestrian lights, or like, try to think of some words that's not overlighting for like the lights and not the street lighting and stuff. Or, you know,
What if we, like Doc said, what if we break it down into,
No uplights.
consider the, again, maybe public safety should look at this, but please consider the safety hazards of different light colors and color temperatures.
Yeah,
Would be one. The second one would be,
no uplights.
please follow the municipal lighting ordinance as written
well, Bill,
by purpose.
you were kind of talking about the angle, like degrees of angle. Is that something that they would actually like look into? Like if we said any light at these angles is considered an uplight and must abide by this, so anything over 90 degrees.
Ours doesn't actually give degrees. If you look at the dark skies applications and the true dark skies ordinances, they actually will tell you that anything at a 90-degree, at a 45, I think it's 45 and 30, that you have different illumination levels. As you go up toward the sky, the amount you can throw up is much less. But even so, even the spotlights, they have to be shielded, or they have to be, there has to be something to prevent it from going up in our ordinance. I think the, you know, if you want to stay very general, I think the point is don't use artificial light as an attractant or as a feature to try to get people downtown. You know, get the big guy out front that does this if you want people to come downtown, or put whimsical
Well, those have
characters
lights in
around,
them too.
or use proper, you know, responsible lighting. I'm not against responsible lighting. I don't think anybody is. There has to be safety. And also, I think for the sake of the merchants, that you know, there can be something special, but it doesn't have to be, it's a one-dimensional plan. It's all uplighting, you know, it's, you know, the subcontractor's called Ensight, and I said they should call them Uplight, because that's their plan. Everything is Uplight. I mean, it really is, so.
Where are they with Bayside Park? Have they already started to install these lights? Or the fixtures, or the mounting? Does anyone know?
No, I think it's just at the demo stage. You can drive by, it's just demoed, I think, right?
Yeah, and I think the town's doing the demo.
Right.
So they have
Reclaiming the bricks to
contractors.
reuse them, which is fantastic, and.
But there's a difference, you know, of course, consistency is a factor, but, you know, the Times Square is within the CCCL that would require a DEP permit. I'm not sure what they need that at Bayfront Park too? You need a DEP permit for the lighting?
There was a question about whether or not there was stormwater associated with it, but I think the answer to that was no, but
Oh, the DEP permit? It's less than an acre, I believe. That's why the DEP's not looking at it.
So anyway, so if from what I'm hearing, and I don't put words in your mouth, you're basically saying that you think that the interpretation of calling lights accent lights deviates from the purpose of the lighting ordinance.
That's correct. I mean, it's just a sidestep, yeah.
And I like the purpose.
Version.
Yeah, you know, well, you say letter and purpose, but, you know, because we got hung up on intent.
Intent,
less,
yes,
yeah.
you did. Yeah. Right, so the purpose is really.
And then you could list like examples of how it's deviating, you know. I mean, to me, you have uplights, you have downlights, right? Downlights point generally down, uplights point generally up.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, the purpose is to curtail and reverse the degradation of the nighttime visual environment by minimizing light pollution, and it's pollution.
Yeah.
Glare, which is uplight, and light trespass, through regulation of the form and use of outdoor lighting. So in what way does calling lights accent light and putting that type of volume of light up into the sky meet the purpose of this? It doesn't, not even close to it. So,
So the problem is the direction of lighting, the color of the lighting, and the power of the lighting. I mean, there's really not much else, is there? But
right. Well, it's also admittedly, all of that uplight is not for safety.
yeah,
I mean, that's at the at their presentation, they said, the question was, is it for safety? And they said, no, it's not for safety. It's to bring attention to that area. And right now, what's allowed in here for that type of area is just increased illumination levels in general. Because it is differentiated. Merchant areas and shopping areas are differentiated here in that they're allowed to use more light. But not that kind of light. I think the analogy is, if that's okay, and if Bayside Park is the size of a normal residential lot, then every single person in this town could install that. And does that meet the purpose of this municipal lighting ordinance? And the answer is absolutely not. You know, so I think that's the issue, if to provide the right example, I think, and follow the municipal lighting ordinance. So how do you put all that into very structured, quick, easy?
So for these reasons that you've enumerated, the plans as they stand are not in compliance with the lighting standards section, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah,
it's-
blah,
it's
blah,
a
blah,
land-
blah.
It's a land development code
Okay,
too, yeah, it's
that's
not
what you
just
put
a,
in.
yep.
For those reasons, which you have well, I think there are 3 of them there that you wrote down.
There's some to light right up here, yeah. Yeah, when it comes down to it, safety, it's compliance with the ordinance, and,
For the following reasons, we request that the town council revisit and, with the
Comply
interest of
with the town
achieving
ordinance.
compliance with the town's standards.
yeah. Consensus vote, how about that? To move forward with the lighting plan. So here's one motion. The Marine Resource Task Force advises the town council to reconsider the consensus vote to move forward with the current lighting plan for Bayside Park and Times Square.
What about Old San Carlos Road? Aren't they redoing the lights on Old Corn?
There's no plans
Oh,
yet.
there's no plan yet.
redoing
And-
the other numbered streets, and those will have amber street lights,
They will have all year round,
like the first, second.
all year round?
Yeah,
Right.
there's gonna be like FP&L installed street lights.
Oh,
Fancy.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we are asking this is because we would like to see the finished product be in compliance with the town's, whatever this is officially called.
Mm-hmm. The municipal lighting ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, a screeching halt here.
See if it covers everything, Steve.
I would do 2. One about no uplighting, the other one about having uniformity of color lights throughout that area.
Yeah, let's be specific.
Light color.
That way they have to think about it twice instead of just once.
That may put a strain on things.
Oh, man. How about,
How does it look, Steve?
it's coming slow. Okay, so I had the first line, second line is safety, right? So issues with I gotta tell you, it's gotta take a minute. Can't write fast enough, I can't collect my thoughts here.
Right. Is there some way that you can write it out, send it to Chad, then have Chad?
We need to vote on it now.
Oh, I
No,
see.
No. How about,
If you decide what it's gonna say, you can always, authorize Steve to create the words.
I authorize Steve to create the words.
If you say what it is you.
I make a motion.
motion?
I'll make a
Write the
motion
blank check.
But
Chair,
we might have the thing. We might have it. He's writing
Okay, go
feverishly
ahead.
here.
I'm not,
Try.
No? Okay, then we'll go with you, Jen.
Okay, I make a motion to allow Steve, what was it that you said, Bill?
To draft.
To draft.
Two.
Two motions, okay, two motions, one regarding uplights and the second for color, correct? Is that right? Am I right?
The uniformity of.
Oh, the uniformity of the color temperature of the lights. Does somebody else want to try the motion?
I think that's good enough.
Should we take a 5-minute break and let him think?
What do you want, Steve? Do you want?
No, we don't have time for a 5-minute break?
no, Jen's gotta leave,
Okay.
actually, so,
Do you want to think?
He's saying no.
go ahead and, no, go ahead.
All right,
No
I
break.
second it. Any discussion?
No?
Before,
I just wanted to offer up, just to read, so everybody understands what the ordinance is, that Mr. Steve's referring to. So, in the luminaire standards, fully shielded, full cutoff luminaires with recessed bulbs and flat lenses are the only permitted fixtures for outdoor lighting with the following exceptions. And one of those exceptions under F is fixtures used to accent architectural features, materials, colors, style of buildings, landscaping, or art must be located, aimed, and shielded so that the light is directed only at those features. Such features must be aimed or shielded to minimize light spill onto adjacent properties or into the night sky in conformance with illumination and luminaire standards.
Did it say vegetation or just mostly structures?
Landscaping, I would call that vegetation, so
How do you shield a light that's,
those specific bulbs are recessed and they have kind of a round shield around them. I've seen them at, I believe, I'm not 100% it's the same model, but I've seen them at some parks in Collier County, some recently, Paradise.
They consider some interior shielding, but I'll ask you, if you have a light that's facing, if this is directly up, and you turn that 10 degrees, is that going skyward?
yes.
yes,
There's no question. If you take a flashlight and hold it straight up and turn it 10 degrees, is that going up? Now, if you put that flashlight into a cup, that then sends sends all the light down onto the ground where you can use it. That's a huge difference. And there is, as they go through definitions, they'll show, I mean, it's clear that as he said, they need to all be fully cut off and shielded. But if those lights weren't accent lights and they were spotlights, then you have lumen considerations. So you can't have more than 900 lumens. These are 2,000 lumen, roughly 1920. So it sort of sidesteps any of these other, to me, the definitions of those. So again, I mean, having said all that, is putting, 72,000 and 300,000 lumens upwards in part of the purpose and the intent of this municipal lighting ordinance.
and
And the only reason it's being done is for what? To
that,
To
draw
aesthetic,
to-
it's for vanity lighting,
Right,
yeah.
it's not needed.
Vanity, it's
Right.
aesthetic,
no,
yeah.
there's no argument, right?
How about we make a motion to strike vegetation off of the ordinance?
I don't think you can change an
We can't
ordinance.
change the ordinance, yeah, unfortunately, no.
I mean, if it says vegetation.
Vegetation, so a light could be facing or shining on a palm tree, where the palm tree may be the trunk is
Yeah,
this
it's-
round, and people are walking right behind a palm tree, they're gonna be blinded in their face and have to readjust their eyes as they're coming down the street or going down a side street where there's amber lighting is ridiculous.
I think there's alternatives. I think the town council actually sent the request that, is there something else we could do? And they just doubled down and came with a defense, I think was very disappointing. they spent the time they had coming up with a defense versus actually coming up with something that would be more workable for the community. That's my, an objection that I had heard from
Yeah, I think that's
a
valid.
number of people.
Yeah.
You can accent with downlighting too.
And downlighting would be safer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the point we need to make.
And it's, and it's interesting because it really has nothing to do with turtles. This is about just the rest of the wildlife, light pollution.
Safety.
Yeah, of course,
Safe-
safety's the huge one, right, but, yeah. So we have a second. Any more discussion?
Do you have enough information? You know what you're going to. Good.
All right, motion carries. No objections. Members' reports. Who's up?
I just have a
Yeah,
quick.
Rob, would you start? Thanks.
Yeah, I'll do that. Can I get some more information on what all you need for my Murphy? Like what you need from me?
Oh, usually a headshot, a photo, and then usually a brief description of how they've earned
Situation and
yeah.
everything? Okay, cool. And then my thing I'd like to put on the next agenda that I've been doing a lot of research on alternatives to the propeller guard. We talked about radar, or not radar, but GPS stuff being on those. I've been doing a lot of research. I'd like to talk about that a little bit next time.
No,
Set?
Yeah, that's all.
Mayor Rose?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that last meeting, I brought up the problem of the unleashed dogs on the beach, and Code has been doing a good job, but it's an ongoing problem. We still have people who feel that if their dog is well-behaved, they can leave it roam about at will. So I wouldn't say that it's really made a big difference, but it has made some difference, and we're working on it.
My understanding from FWC is that law enforcement will be educating and enforcing that in the CWA come shorebird season.
Good, thanks.
Nothing for me? Doc?
Nothing for me.
On that note, if anyone has pictures of, especially in the CWA, please send them day and time. Send them over to me. FWC biologist was asking for that.
What about in our town parks, like Newton area? Do we send those pictures to you as well?
Yeah,
Of loose dogs in the park?
Outage too.
Bowditch is Lee County.
yeah, I mean, I don't believe dogs are allowed at all.
They're not, but they still are there.
Right.
every day.
Yeah. And I think it's residents who are most guilty, because they feel so comfortable. They feel they can let their dogs run in the water and run after their balls, and whatever.
Right.
I had something,
Oh,
but I
Jennifer,
didn't
was
know if
that-
Jen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just wanted to maybe put it on the agenda that we do discuss some upcoming turtle season, and if we have any, come up with any questions or comments or ideas for Chad. So, that's it.
Good. Ms. Larkin?
Yeah, I'd like to keep the exotic vegetation real short. Hopefully I can show everyone the Google mapping next time.
Yay.
And then my other thing was that I really wanted to give recognition to Jennifer Roskett, because April 2nd, the pop-up tent will be in use for one whole year. It's her anniversary.
Holy
Yeah.
cow, bravo!
Bravo.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Rose.
All right. Good. Public comment? Casper? Friendly ghost. No public comment. Set the agenda for next meeting. Okay, so should we keep the budget on and actually then set the goal to bring, again, these last ideas so that we can get them to the council and start working on them?
Yeah, as long as I have, wait a minute, I'm
I'm
sorry.
talking about
Repeat that.
So the budget, to finish fleshing it out, so if we do have a main topic, enough information that we can present it to council?
Well, Roger said we didn't have to.
Right.
We either have the money, we spend it how we want.
You
The only thing he was
decide one
concerned about-
person.
that Jennifer spends it all and you don't get anything.
Right, well, I mean, yeah, there's basically maximums, is how it works, yeah.
Yes, so
Maybe
it
that
doesn't
I
have to
come
go
to the
town council.
committee, that I come to the committee
You guys
on,
understood it? I don't think he mentions it, but,
so we had spoken about, let's see, what were the numbers that we had? 4,000 and 3,000 for graphics and printing and 3,000 for outreach. I can look into the graphics and printing. I can also look into the flashlights and.
well, we're
bring
not
it
sure, it's,
to-
definitely sure it's flashlights.
No.
Did anybody else have an idea they wanted to
Well, the
do for that, I
bags.
think is how we left
bags
it. Well,
and
it was
the
the bags,
cups.
the cups, but are there any
Right,
other?
I'll be-
Well, if they do, they should get some information on it and bring it back for the next meeting.
And I can do that, so I'll look
Right.
into, prices and work with Jenny and
Okay,
look all into that and then bring it to you, but I do need, some money to be,
Right,
you know,
you got-
immediately to be able to start getting supplies for the pop-up.
absolutely. Your credentials are good for money on this beach, so
Okay,
you're good to
good.
go.
So I will look into those and bring that, those ideas and estimates and anything else, to the table next meeting.
Good, okay, we'll leave that on the agenda. Dark skies, I suppose, ongoing, whether we move forward or not, right? Shrimp Fest debrief, is that good? Exotic vegetation is still on. You had mentioned, Chad, sea turtle,
I think Jen wanted sea turtle season on the agenda.
on there just,
Well, he had asked if
Any
we had
feedback?
any
oh,
feedback.
feedback, so give
or
us a month
ideas
and we'll
or-
put it on there. Okay, we'll leave that. Yep, sea turtle. Season start, how's that? All right, so that's all I have.
And the GPS
And-
thing.
Right, and then, what would you like to, title that? Again, manatee
Yeah,
conservation?
safety.
Manatee safety, okay.
Or preventing crop scarring.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to protect the seagrass too, because we're down a lot back there. I did a count last week and it's rough.
I was out 2 days ago and it's better than it's been for 2 years.
Do you go back down there?
Yeah, I'm right by Publix.
Oh, I'm talking about on the north side of the bridge. It's gone.
Yeah. I mean, but it's back there.
Too much
It hasn't
traffic.
gone.
Their study is showing how much has been lost over the last 5 years. I was one of my committees. It's astonishing.
Yeah, well, it's not perfect, but it's better than it was last year, all I'm saying.
That's good to hear. I mean, at least there's
Yeah.
some positive spaces, seriously.
It was extremely low tide, so I could see
They've just
more
done
Why do you
another,
think that is? Why is it better?
random.
it's just that spot
Fertilized from the
probably,
boats out there.
yeah. But they've just completed another survey of Estero Bay, and it's done, I think, every 5 years or so. And our gentleman at FGCU that presented at the water quality seminar last month, was the one that actually had done it, so we just need to get a copy of it, because that'll be something that would be interesting for us to take a look at, so. Okay, so I think that's, I think we're set.
I have to go.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Me? No. All right, 4:16.
Hey, Rose?
So you can send an email with your